This guy stopped selling random automations and went all in sales systems. And he just closed a $1,500 deal. Now I'm going to help him do the work so he can actually retain the client. Now I'm doing this because getting a client is one thing, but retaining them means you've got to deliver. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to do once you land your first client, step by step. This is the same stuff that I've used to grow my sales team agency to 7 figures. So grab a pen, pull up, and get to work.
First client close, 1,497. 5 booked meetings, 50% upfront. Just got my first client payment, and I'm honestly so relieved. This win was exactly what I needed to boost my confidence and prove to myself that the sales systems actually work. I've been in the SSM community for 6 months, but here's what changed everything. I switched to the recruitment niche just last week and used the connector angle for the first time. Yeah, this member actually was in SSM for about 6 months. To give you guys some context, like the whole point of me opening a community was because I was part of other communities back then. And I used to provide so much value to the point where I got invited to a fireside chat, basically in another community. Okay. And I did not gatekeep anything. I shared everything. And people that actually attended that call were like, Saad, make a community. So I was like, you know what? Sure, let me do it. And it started off as just like a few people, like 10 to 20 people. And then eventually it grew. Now we're about like 370 people, which is absolutely insane. So it's so interesting how your trajectory in life just changes, you know? So before this, I was targeting SaaS tech companies, but struggled a lot on sales goals. By the way, the connector angle, what he means is essentially like a positioning that I came up with when I was scaling my agency to 80K a month. And I'm going to explain that in detail just shortly. Okay, so the connector angle was a game changer. This approach felt more natural and authentic. Yes, that's true. I used the white label case studies from the SSM Masters library specifically for recruitment. Yeah, and what he means by that for everybody who is watching this is basically what I've done is I blocked 2 days of my calendar. I went and talked to my past clients and I said, hey, I ran a community right now. And for them to get some social proof, for them to get some credibility, now they can say that they partnered with my process, which is my company. That way they can get their foot in the door and actually close deals. So 90% of my clients were like, thumbs up, that's fine. So it's a huge opportunity for them to leverage my case studies, and they can just say, hey, we partnered with Maya process and we've delivered X, Y, and Z. Okay, now this is completely consensual because I'm the one, I actually delivered the results, and I can choose the person who actually partnered with me. So that was a game changer for members. Deal structure, 1,497 total value, 5 booked meetings in 30 days, 50% upfront. I had close to 10 calls total before closing this one deal. Yes, classic. Thank you all. I'm quiet, but often read through your own story/wins to get energized when previous calls/campaigns failed. And especially thanks to Saad's advice, I went all in sales systems back in April. Wow. I paused all my other automation activities, had a retainer ongoing, but felt capped by delivery and focused purely on this. That decision was everything. Yeah, I totally relate to this because, to give you guys some context, back then when I was freelancing on Upwork, I got banned with over 2K frozen, okay? And then I went for a long walk. I was like, you know, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to go all in, and I'm literally going to go in on sales systems. And I did, and the rest was history. So it's so interesting how life makes you pivot to other trajectories based off one experience that happens to you, and you just go all in, and that's exactly your path, right? I'll be real with you all. I was skeptical about my sales skills as a tech profile. Sales calls were genuinely uncomfortable. Classic, yeah. This is also, I relate to it because by nature, I am an introvert. So when I first got started, sales calls were like, man, I don't want to do this. But I learned that the pain of me being average is going to be more painful than these sales calls. Because I mean, think about it. I'm going to hop on a sales call with a prospect, a decision maker that is willing to pay me money. So why am I self-sabotaging? See how these limiting beliefs that we all have just unconsciously make us stuck in life? But here's what I learned. if you keep showing up, it doesn't matter how uncomfortable you feel. If I can do this, you absolutely can too. The systems work, the community works, you just have to keep showing up. Well, obviously, this is not some get rich quick scheme. Obviously, you have to put in the work, duh. So, massive thanks to Saad for the guidance and for creating a system that even someone like me can execute. This first win changes everything. Time to get client 2. Awesome, man. Congratulations. So we're going to have to add this 1,500 to the total revenue generated by members, which is on top. So 192K. So 192. Okay, sweet. So we're almost at 200K. So the client that he actually onboarded is a recruitment company. Of course, it's a recruitment company. Everybody closes their first deal with a recruitment company. Even I closed my first deal with a recruitment company. It's so easy to close a client in the recruitment space because, think about it. They're always hiring. They always have candidates that they want to place. They always have candidates that they want to represent in front of companies hiring. So the demand is always there. Okay. Supply and demand is always there. So I would always recommend you guys go for the recruitment niche if it's your first client. That way you can get some cash collected and then you can reinvest it back in the business. Okay. So what does this client do? So what does this company do? Well, they help tech companies hire great software engineers and designers, basically a recruitment agency. Okay. It's an IT recruitment agency. So they provide hard to fill like UX, UI, and developers. So they work mostly with startups and growing companies that build apps in-house, and they make sure hiring is smooth, accurate, and fast, usually within a month. So the client's most impressive results, basically this is their case study because we're going to be using it. They placed 2 UX/UI contractors in Texas for Indeed, which is absolutely insane. So this is their biggest client, okay? So this is the onboarding form that the client filled to give you guys some context. Once the client actually pays you, well, you send them like an onboarding form such as this one right here. It essentially contains some of the questions that the client needs to answer. For example, if I click on start, so they fill out their general business information, the website URL, their email, their offer, target audience, benefits of the offer, what sets you apart and what makes you stand out from other competitors, etc. And once they fill that out, you just put that in a Google Doc. So he sent me this Google Doc and let's just read through this document together. So we help tech companies achieve faster, more accurate hiring of software engineers, etc. This is the specialization, average time to fill, notable successful placements. So this is the target market. So they want to target companies from 11 to 500 employees. The decision makers that they want to reach out to is heads of engineering, obviously CTOs. It's all technical roles. Ideal clients, Indeed, banks, and Zoom. So any companies that use apps and produce them in-house. So these are all the questions and the answers within this doc. So now what I've done is I basically took these answers and I put them in this whimsical. That way I show you guys my thought process and essentially how I would fulfill for this type of client. Okay, so we're going to do something called campaign stacking. Okay, now I never talked about the campaign stacking, but today I will. So these are some of the anti-fragile methods that I use when I was scaling my agency to 80K a month. Okay, so what is campaign stacking? Well, essentially it's when you build out 2 sales systems campaign for the client. Okay, and let me just explain this in very simple terms like a child could understand. So think about it, guys. Like, this is a recruitment company. They have these candidates, and these candidates, they want to place them in front of companies hiring, which is, in our case, well, tech startups, because they want to work with tech startups and they provide UI, UX designers, software engineers, software developers, okay? So the best way to find their ideal clients is going to be find companies that are hiring for those exact roles. So this is a signal that we can use, okay? Now, on the other hand, you can also target companies that are not currently hiring, but might be open to hiring in the future. And let me explain, okay? So this is called campaign stacking. So we're going to have campaign B, companies hiring, which is essentially just job postings. Now, this equals immediate wins. Think about it. So campaign B is going to be reactive because we're targeting companies already hiring. So we're going to get fast replies from hot leads because they're already hiring. Think about it. So they are already problem aware and time sensitive. So it's good for short-term meetings because he promised 5 meetings within 30 days. So it's easy for him to get meetings for his clients. And we also can ride the momentum because job posts went live equal inbox is full and they're open to a new path. Okay. Now let's go for the campaign A. So campaign A is basically tech companies who build apps in-house. So we're doing this for pipeline and long-term positioning. Okay. This is called a proactive campaign. So this is reactive campaign and this is proactive campaign. So in campaign A, which is the proactive one, we're targeting companies who will hire soon. So what we do is we get in early before they post jobs on job boards. So we build trust before urgency. So when they need us, well, they're going to call us. Okay. And it's also good for pipeline building. So essentially, like in very simple terms, campaign B is day trading. Just like day trading. So it's high speed, fast return plays. And campaign A is kind of like long-term investing. So you're doing it for brand pipeline and future cash flow. So what he's going to have to do is run both, okay? Because he's going to win now and win later on. So it's not really double the work, it's double the leverage. Okay. So when you mix both, you build long-term value, plus you book short-term calls for the clients. That way you can retain them because now you delivered fast wins, but at the same time, you have another campaign in the background that's running. Well, now we can introduce retainers and now you lock them out for like a 6-month retainer that's worth 3 to 4K, which is awesome. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys today the campaign B because campaign is pretty basic. You're just going to have to scrape companies, whether it's going to be Crunchbase or LinkedIn, Apollo, and it's going to be very, very basic positioning. But campaign B is going to be the immediate ones because once he's going to see this, he can essentially just implement that and get up and running as quickly as possible. And that way, you guys that are watching this, if you have a similar client or maybe when you get a client with sales systems, this video is going to help you a ton. Okay. So we're going to use another anti-fragile method, which is the connector style. So essentially, what it means is that we're not pitching a recruiter. We're saying, I know someone who helped Indeed fill UX roles in Texas fast. Should I enter you? Okay. So instead of like pitching the recruiter, we're just pitching the connection. So this works because it creates curiosity. So the lead or the recipient is going to be like, who is this person who helped Indeed? I want to know more. Okay. And also avoids resistance because you're not selling. You're just offering a potential fix. You're just being a helper. You're just being an insider, just being a peer, just being a friend. Okay. You're just providing value up front. So here's the dream email that we're going to be using. So, hey, first name is essentially the variable, which is basically like Peter or whatever, which is interchangeable. We have a congrats line that's going to be generated by AI. I'm going to show you guys the N8N system that's going to allow us to do this at scale. And then we're saying saw company name. Again, it's just an interchangeable variable. Is hiring for job title. I know someone who's helped companies like Indeed and a mobile app startup fill UX and full stack roles fast, often in under a month. So this is our offer. And essentially, we just stacked everything, which is the relevance and the timing. So we saw you hiring for a job title, and then we're front loading our social proof. We say, hey, I know someone who helped Indeed using the connector style, which makes it super powerful. And then often in under a month. So essentially, this is like a very, very clear offer that makes it low risk for them. Not a recruiter pitch, just offering to connect you with someone who can tap into passive tech talent and speed things up. Want me to make an intro? Okay, so how do we find these exact companies that are hiring for these exact roles that this recruitment company actually provides? So the best platform to find tech companies that are hiring is going to be Well Found, okay? So basically, and to give you guys some context, I was actually in a call with a recruitment company, like a client, and they said, hey, we want companies that are listed in Well Found. I was like, I can use this. So this is basically the platform that we're going to be using because it's specifically for tech jobs, startups. So as you guys can see, 10 million plus startup ready candidates. So it's good for recruitment agencies and also for companies hiring. Okay. So if you go and scroll down, you will see startup jobs here. And then you will see all of these companies that are currently hiring. So I'm simply going to go view all jobs. Okay. And you see all these companies. It's within our range because if you guys noticed here, they want from 11 to 500. So this company is within 11 to 50, which is awesome. So I'm simply going to type in software engineer hiring in the United States. and I have 4,581 company results total. Okay, so these are all the companies. Well, now how do I get access to these companies in bulk? Well, I'm simply going to scrape well found. Okay, so the best way to scrape any platform is simply go to Epify. So Epify is basically like a marketplace for multiple scrapers such as TikTok Scraper, Amazon, Apollo, well found, anything really, Instagram. So I'm simply going to type in well found and see if I can find it. Well, obviously I can find it because there are multiple developers who already built a ready plug and play scraper for me that I can use. So I can click on try for free and I'm good. Okay. So this is basically the interface of the platform. Okay. So you have the ability to choose by job title, job location, etc. So we're just going to skip this. Okay. And then we're going to have to scroll down. And you see this job page or listing URLs max. So this is exactly what we're going to be doing. Okay. So we're simply going to copy this URL, paste it and add and paste it here. Offset is basically skip. We're just going to leave that empty. Proxy configuration mixer is always residential because it has the highest, it has the lowest chances of getting blocked, because when you scrape platforms like Wellfound, LinkedIn, they don't want you to scrape them. So this scraper just handles the proxy configuration. They have something called rotation. So they rotate the IP. The scraper rotates its IP. Okay. So max pages, in our case, let's just put, for example, 10. And then max jobs, let's just put 1,000 for now. Okay. If you want to scrape 4,000, we're simply going to put 4,000 here. Okay. So simply scroll down, go to run options, make sure it's always no timeouts, okay? And click on start. So we're just gonna have to rent the actor and click on save and start. And that's it literally. The scraper is gonna go ahead and scrape all these companies for us, which is pretty cool. So we're going to get the company logo, we're going to get the company name, we're going to get the job listing posted, job published, the exact job title, job location, job details, minimum pay, basically everything that you need from Wellfound, okay? So yes, I agree. And then just in a little bit, we're going to see that this table, because it's a table, we're going to see that it gets populated. Let me go back. So if I go to run in, this is the log, essentially the backend. So fetch in, as you guys can see. So essentially these are all the job URLs. So the way the scraper works is they use something called a crawler. So they enter this page and they click page by page and they retrieve the information for you, which is pretty cool, right? And then once that's done, we're going to see this table populated. Page 2. So we are right now at page 2. And then we're scraping page by page. Now we are at page 3, as you guys can see. So page 3. And then we're going to scrape until it's like 10 pages. Because if we go to the interface, we specifically said 10 pages. Okay. This is optional, but always make sure you put how many pages you want to scrape. And if you go here, you will see that we have 61 pages. So if you want to scrape 4,000, we'll simply put 61 pages, and max jobs, well, you can leave that empty, or you can simply hard code 4,581 just to be safe, you know? That way you don't have to run the scraper if it runs into issues. And let's say it only scrapes like 4,000, but you want 4,500. So simply hard code that, okay? So right now we're just gonna have to go to N8N. And then we're gonna build out an N8N system that's gonna allow us to automate this entire process at scale. So I'm just gonna go to overview, and then I'm gonna create a workflow. This is the first step. I'm going to click on this plus button, trigger manually. So if I execute the flow, nothing is going to happen because I need to link it to a node, but I can't really do it now since it's still scraping. So I need to wait at least like 5 minutes. And check this out. We got a new win. You won't believe this, man. First 2 clients signed paid yesterday. Same day, 5.7K total. I'll make a community post about it. I've got onboarding calls tomorrow. Do you have a time for Friday for that call? Yeah, that's another first client award live. Let me show you guys the actual message. I don't know if you can see this. So here's what I mentioned earlier. Check this out. rotate in session to avoid detection. So what happened now is the scraper just rotated its IP. So now we have all these companies. Well, what do? We're simply going to go to integrations, and then we're going to go to use API endpoints, and we want get last run database dataset items. So copy it. And then we're going to click on this plus button, and we're going to make an HTTP request. And we're simply going to paste this here, and we're going to leave it at get. Now, I only want to retrieve one record from the scrape. So I'm just going to add end limit equals 1. Execute. So now I have essentially the jobs, right? I just retrieved the one item. Okay, sweet. So let's just name this get jobs. Okay. Well, now what do? Well, we have the job benefits, job description, which is right here. What do I also have? We have basically the URL of the company, which is a startup company. So if I copy it and I go and look at this website, so it's a cloud-based platform. It's a really good website. Clean. Yeah. So this is a startup, like a tech startup. So they really need these candidates and they are hiring. So we have the company name and we also have the website. Well, since we have that, I need a decision maker. Okay. So the simple, most straightforward way to find a decision maker is just simply Google them. Okay. So we're going to click on this plus button. Okay. I'm going to make an HTTP request to a Google search. Okay. And then it's going to be this API endpoint, which is Google search. And then we're going to go to Open Playground. Okay. I'm going to close all these tabs for now. And then we're going to have to copy this URL. If you guys saw here, we have Nike. So actually we need an exact URL. So I already have this. So it's in my microprocess playbook. So this is basically a Google search URL that we can use. So what do we want? We want, let's go for the founder name. Yeah. Because these companies are still in the 11 to 50. So it's the best way just reach out to the founder directly. So I'm simply going to put this here. And then I'm going to map the company name. Actually, before I do this, I'm going to put the company name here first. Boom. So I know from where I should delete. Okay. So the website is URL. I'm just going to put it here. And I'm simply going to delete this. Okay. So now we're going to have to add a header. So the headers are going to be here, which is header. Copy. Paste this here. Control C. The value is going to be this value. Obviously, we need an API key. So API key is here. Control C. And simply paste it here. Control C. And boom. Okay. So now what do? We need to execute the step. Okay, so this is the guy, Adam Van Lente. Let's check this guy out. This is the actual person. Yeah, this is the guy. This is the exact company. Benchling, which is the exact company that we just saw. So this is the exact company, isn't it? So they recently got funded Series F with 100 million. This is the one, right? Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So now what do? We need to get this name from here, right? Using AI. So I'm simply going to add an LLM model. So LLM, basic LLM chain, define below. And I'm going to say retrieve the full name from title as it might be reflected in the link, the person's LinkedIn. So this is the person's LinkedIn. And I'm going to say output the result only with no additional text. Now, if I execute this step, subnode, yeah. I forgot to add a node here. I'm just going to use Azure GPT-4o, GPT 4o. Okay. Execute the step. And then boom, Adam Van Litte. Okay, great. So now I'm going to have to name this. Let's just name this Get Decision Maker. And then this is going to be clean name. Okay. So now I have the decision maker, their first and last name. I also have the website. Well, I can simply find their email. Okay. So this member can just go ahead and use the command center, which is essentially our own in-house tools that we built specifically for members. So they can essentially just have unlimited API requests to find emails because it's pretty expensive to use other platforms such as any email finders, like $400 a month. So we built our own entire platform specifically for the community members. That way they can lower the costs and they can actually do the work. Okay. But in your case, you can just use any email finder. You can use Hunter, you can use Scrape, you can use Mails.so, you can use anything that you want. Okay. I'm just going to use any email finder right now. So I'm just going to go to API. Actually, I'm going to go to app. And then if I simply like put this name here, I'll see if any email finder is going to find the email. There's a 50% chance. And then I'm simply going to put the website, which is website. So it's in here, which is website. Copy. And let's try search. So we found the email. Awesome. So how do we do this via API so we can automate the entire flow? We're simply going to go to API. We're going to go to read API documentation. And then we're going to go back. Click on this plus button. We're going to make an HTTP request. HTTP. And then we're going to go back here. And then we're going to see find a person's email. And this is the authentication. So it's a post request. As you guys can see, post. So simply go here. Method is going to be post. And simply paste this here. Headers. Let's see if we need to add a header. Authorization bearer. Okay, so authorization bearer. So what we need to do is actually not send headers. We're going to add generic credential type. And then we're simply going to add a bearer. And then create a new credential. Let's name this an email finder v2, for example. And then we're simply going to have to copy this API key and paste it here and save. Sweet. So now we need to send a body, and the body is going to be JSON because check this out. If we go back, we need to send the domain plus the full name. Okay, so we're simply going to have to type in domain, right? So domain equals, okay. So let's go back. Domain equals the domain, which is the domain that we have here. Domain. And then what do we need again? We need the person full name and its full name. So full name. And then we're simply going to add the full name that was retrieved here. Boom. Close the brackets and then execute the step. So it needs to be a valid JSON. Yeah, we forgot to add domain. Oh yeah, we forgot to add another. Boom. Execute the step. So now we found the email. Valid. Awesome. So this is going to be find email. Okay. So what do we do now? Well, we need to go back and see. Well, we need to pre-draft like a congrats line. Okay. So a congrats line, we're simply going to have to go back and scrape their website page. Okay. So we're going to scrape their website page. That way we can get the recent achievements, their value prop, etc. So simply we're going to make an HTTP request. And then we're going to use a platform called Exa. Okay. So Exa AI. So they changed their interface, which is awesome. So we're going to go to API dashboard, continue with Google. So we're just going to sign in. So simply I'm going to go to API keys, and then I'm going to create a new key. For example, key. This is my API key. Let's put this here. And then what do we need? Well, we need to search. So this is search. So search, let's see. AI page summary. Where are the docs? So let's go to docs and see. So search, or I believe it's get content. Yeah, get content. All right. So now we need to copy this URL. So post requests. Put this here. X API key is going to be in headers. Yes. So we're simply going to have to go to send headers. JSON. Actually, no. Send headers. I believe it's header. Yes. Yes. Headers. Yes. So copy. Paste this here. Let's see. If we make an error, we're just going to have to troubleshoot this together. So copy this. So URL text equals true. Okay. So send body is going to be using JSON. And then now we're going to have to simply add the URL, which is domain. Okay. So let's execute the step and see. Great. So we have the text. Awesome. So this is going to be scrape website. Okay. Well, now we're going to feed in this text to AI by adding an LLM model. Not Olama. Let me delete this. Click on this plus button, LLM. So basic LLM chain, define below. And we're going to simply copy a prompt from my 7-figure prompts. I'm going to leave you guys everything that you need, by the way, in the resource down below. So I'm simply going to copy the recent achievements prompt. Control C, put this here, and I'm going to feed in the text. So let's see the output. Congrats on building Benchling into an R&D powerhouse. Bringing deep science with seamless text integration is no small feat. Amazing. So I'm just going to lower the temperature to like 0.3. And then now let's see. Congrats on building a unified platform. Bridging experimental data and AI-driven insights is rare feat in the R&D tech. Amazing. All right, so this is going to be personalization. Okay, sweet. So now what do we do? Well, we need to generate this line right here. So company name is hiring for job title. Okay, so we're simply going to copy this and we're going to use something called a anti-fragile method. Essentially, we're just going to feed in this to an AI model. An AI model is going to pre-draft the exact results based on a template, which is the exact template. So I'm going to add another LLM, basic LLM chain, define below, generate a statement similar to this example, perfect output. And then we're simply going to feed in Benchling, because the best way to train an AI model is just give it like a prime example from the data. Benchling is hiring for a job title. Okay. And then we're going to have to feed in the job title from get jobs, which is software engineer. So job title, company name. So company name is obviously going to be the company name, which is company name. Okay. Output the result only with no additional text. So if I execute the step, I forgot to add a node. I should probably make this an SOP. Like add a node all the time, Saad. GPT 4O. So used to make. So execute the step. Boom. So inputs, outputs. Celebration is hiring for software engineer, infrastructure platform. I know someone who's helped the companies. Okay, so job title. Clean the job title as abbreviation and output the results only. Okay, let's see now. Now it's good. Hiring for software engineer. So let's just name this anti-fragile template. And now we're done, right? Everything is good. So we're just going to have to save this. Okay. So now what do? Well, we're simply going to put all these leads in a Google Sheets, and then we're going to update everything there. So I'm simply going to go to sheets.new, and then I'm going to go to Epify. Okay. And I'm going to basically go to console. So now I'm simply going to go to file, import, upload, and I'm simply going to upload it here. Okay. And then append. Okay, sweet. So I'm going to bolden this up. And then I'm going to resize the rows to specify row height. Okay. There we go. Just added this to a Google Sheets. Okay. Job type. And then we're going to add another row, right? Another row again. So this is going to be full name. This is going to be email. This is going to be again personalization. And then this is again going to be anti-fragile method. Okay. So let's just name this first client reward. Now what do? I go back, click on this plus button, go to Sheets, and it's going to be update a sheet in a row. So I'm going to go to list. So this is the first client reward, sheet 1. So company name and get jobs. So we're simply going to add company name here. And then the full name is the full name. Email is the email found. Personalization is personalization. And the text is anti-fragile method. Sweet. And there we go. We added this. Okay, sweet. So now we're just going to have to go to instantly, log in, and we're simply going to have to upload this list as CSV. We're going to go to campaigns, first client reward, leads, add leads, upload CSV. And then we're simply going to have to upload it. Boom. Now we're just going to have to copy this entire thing. Boom. So, hey, first name, congrats line, which is the personalization. And now we're going to add the anti-fragile method. And then there we go. Now we have everything that we need. Okay. So we're just going to have to save this. In terms of subject line, I'm going to add quick intro for company name. Okay. Sweet. So there we go. We just built the entire flow in N8N. Okay. As you guys can see, we used a couple methods, right? So this is exactly what I would do and what you should be doing if you have a similar client in the recruitment space. Okay. Now, the only thing I have to do is get out there, take action. I believe in you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.